And a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us here today for another live episode of Conversations with Michael. We come together on the first Friday of every month to participate in these monthly energy updates with Michael. As all of us are witnessing, the greatest transition humanity has ever experienced. At least that's how we perceive this. I'm sure he has a lot to share today, so I'm looking forward to it too. Many have called this transition the second coming of Christ consciousness. Some refer to it as being the end times, but Michael prefers to see it as a new beginning, one that has to start first from within. And his life on this planet continues to unfold in a lot of different directions, in ways that can be a little unsettling and exhilarating all at the same time. This is a really good time to consciously stand under the waterfall of your soul's presence. And for those of you that have been following Michael's guidance, you know what we are referring to. So as not to get pulled into all the drama from the collective consciousness on this planet. So before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of you for all of your support. It means a lot to myself and to my wife, Coca. As a young man, I never imagined that my adventures would eventually lead me to the life I am now living. And if you ever have those moments for yourself when you can feel some of those concerns lingering from your past, just let them know where you are right now. It all worked out. It all worked out. There is nothing to worry about. I know firsthand many of the challenges a lot of you might be facing. And as we enter a new period in the life of a human being, it's not easy living on this planet. With your sensitivity now at an all-time high, and yet here we are, receiving more of who we also are, while releasing more of who we no longer choose to be. And let's take a collective breath on that note. Celebrating how we have chosen to free ourselves from those parts of us that we no longer choose to be. I know that our approach to this thing called an embodied human soul relationship, we're well aware it's a little different. There are millions of self-improvement courses out there that, for the most part, advocate for creating an improved version of your human self. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not what we offer. With Michael's guidance, we encourage all of you to allow your human self to just be what it is. It's conditioned. To completely accept it as it is in this moment. That doesn't mean you're stuck with who you are. Not at all. Acceptance represents one of the highest forms of love. So every time you go to your heart and let yourself feel total acceptance of your human nature just as it is. Most of the people we have the honor of working with share that the tension or anxiety that they're carrying shifts almost instantly. Michael insists that we already have inside of us an identity that has embraced its male and female parts, its own light and its own shadow, its own yin and yang. It doesn't need to find another person, another being, human or otherwise, outside of itself to complement who it is. But your human identity won't loosen its grip on that steering wheel of, as it perceives it, its life, if it's all about trying to create an improved version of itself. To our human self, it feels irresponsible to turn over all of its unresolved issues to another part that doesn't have any issues. But let's be real. It wasn't the one that incarnated on this planet, the human part. That would be your soul. So we prefer to skip all the mind games, all the drama from trying to be a better person, and just go straight to the heart of your soul. For us, it's more about being in receivership of what you already are, rather than spending all that energy trying to become that. Over the years, we've been advocating for being on this planet, but not of it. That doesn't mean you're turning your back on all the problems that face this human family. Quite the opposite. It's because of the urgent nature of these times that humanity needs more than ever the very presence of your consciousness. Over all these last 40 years, Michael has guided us to embrace the light of consciousness, not the opposite of the dark, but as the part of creation that creates everything. Everything. The radiance of such a light can have such a profound impact on any reality that has separated itself from such a presence. Which means that it's very important to acknowledge the predominant system of reality on this planet as a very polarized, closed system of reality, one that indeed denies the existence of consciousness. So being on this planet with the light of your soul, it's not something we're willing to compromise in relationship to the collective consciousness of this human family. But once you experience your own presence, you're happy to share it. Even if it appears at times that very few are responding to such a light. Speaking for myself, like so many of you, I resonate with a more open-ended, free-flowing reality, which for the most part isn't even recognized by most people as even being real. So we get it. It can feel, for a lot of you who are watching today's show, like there's really nothing for you to connect to on this planet that feels real to you. So many of us made a really bold choice, a conscious choice, to allow the presence of our soul to now coexist with our conditioned human nature. And what all of us have also discovered was even more confusing. Anything, and I mean anything, would have been easier than that choice, than to choose to embody and allow the unlimited presence of our soul to now be our true identity, existing alongside a very closed system of reality that supports the vast majority of human beings, one that once again has separated itself from the presence of consciousness, whose very presence serves as the basis for all of creation, which makes consciousness kind of important when we're talking about the quality of our life. So our service over all these years has been really simple. To extend our hand in support of such a courageous choice, and it is, in the form of a variety of heart-based programs and services, with the presence of my oversoul, Michael, leading the way. And if you're new to our service, welcome. Many of you perhaps know Michael as the Archangel Michael, but he is more than that. So feel free to check out our website to get a feel for what we're all about. Our service actually shifted about 12 years ago to being what it is today, 100% online presence. That choice greatly reduced the wear and tear on my own body from doing all those in-person events. Instead, we've created an open and a private online community on our website. Both of them act as supports for any awakened human being. From the comfort of your home, you can also access all of our events. And if you don't want to wait for the next live presentation of any of our workshops or classes, feel free to check out our video library in our online store. So we are well aware that the world appears to be a little crazy right now. But any reality that doesn't acknowledge the presence of consciousness would feel pretty much the same. It's just that here on Earth, as you've all noticed, everything moves a little slower, or at least it used to. It feels a little denser, more intense, being physical. Earth represents more of a in-your-face type of experience, which actually is a good thing if you embrace the belief that your life is happening because of you. Not so good if it's more about life happening to you. The good news, all of that is changing. All of it. Speaking of, let's take our collective deep breath here together. And let yourself feel all the energetic support that is here today. Both, of course, from Michael and my friends on the other side. But a lot of it is from all of you. As you've allowed your soul to be more present, you're now sharing that with this group. We're feeling that together as a circle of energy that's touching the heart of each and every one of us. So, of course, I give thanks to Michael, but I also give thanks to all of you. Let us take another deep breath. As my human self allows the natural state of my soul to begin to step forward. And in my case, its counterpart, well, that would be my oversoul, called Michael. Indeed it is. Thank you, Robert. It is I, Michael. And yes, there is a lot to talk about here today. Simply because where a lot of you are right now in your own life has never been experienced before in this way. This is the lifetime, your lifetime, to embrace your magnificence with all of your heart. Whatever belief perception, or story that is denying you the freedom to enjoy your life with a new passion, a true passion, this is the lifetime to set all of that free. Why? Because that, my friends, this passion for living is truly your natural state. We want you to imagine yourself, even if for just a moment, completely free of all those underlying worries and concerns. Imagine it. So you can be a service to this planet through your own radiance in a way that can impact the choices humanity is and will need to face. This, my friends, is not the time to hide your light. And we know that all of you have your own reasons why you do that. You have valid concerns about exposing yourself. But you also know that it is your light, the light of your soul, that creates everything in your life. If you allow it, if you allow it, if you give yourself permission to be filled with a passion unlike anything your human part has ever experienced, to give yourself permission to never compromise the gift you are sharing with this planet ever again. Never again will you pretend that your divine nature exists outside of you. And that, my friends, is the only difference between you and me. As we speak, Earth has become the #1 movie in creation. Hard to believe, but it's true. There are more eyes on what is unfolding on this planet than ever before. Because your light has the potential of not only changing the quality of life on Earth, but all of creation. Such is the impact on any reality when the light of consciousness is present. It is simply incredible. While at the same time, as it relates to that human part of you, it doesn't always feel incredible, does it? In fact, it can feel downright scary at times. And as much as your heart has yearned for a more free-flowing experience as a human being, you and I both know it takes a great deal of responsibility to act as a conscious creator of your own experience, not just as a cool idea or as a mental construct, but as a tangible physical experience. When I invited Robert almost 12 years ago to consider going beyond being a channeler, he of course said yes, without thinking of the consequences from such a choice. But he too didn't want our relationship or my message to be defined by his ability to be a conscious channel for me. Very few human beings actually feel called to act as a messenger for a non-physical being, and that relationship has served this planet for ages, to act as a bridge between this physical reality and what lies beyond it. Not every human being feels qualified or desires to play that part. And like everything else, that too is about to change. Because it is the birthright of every human being to experience their own soul nature. And every soul has an oversoul. So Robert embraced this opportunity to serve what is so natural and is available to all of you. You no longer need to experience yourself as being separated from who you also are. And because your natural state is not physical, it's why, in part, some of you have a really hard time embracing being human, at least from a place of joy. But even if you do enjoy the human experience, it can be really challenging to accept the current condition of this planet. The problems all of you face on so many levels as a human family can leave you feeling overwhelmed, completely stressed out. So the part that most of you that are here today have chosen to play, it offers a very subtle but consistent degree of support simply from shining your light. Its radiance and its impact is based on your devotion to being true to your soul self. It serves those that have chosen to become actively involved in helping to change this world. In a very similar way, that my own light is also impacting some of you right now. Many before you that walked this same path as you, like you, they couldn't bear the pain of feeling separated from their soul. It was too much. It was overwhelming. Nothing made sense. You have more in common than you think with all those that walk this same path. But they also didn't have the technology all of you have access to. All those wireless devices that would have allowed them to connect with other like-minded or fully awakened human beings. So naturally, they left this reality. They ascended from the consciousness of this planet, which also is available to any of you, if that is what you prefer to experience. Inside that choice, they are fully embraced by a reality that supports their own sovereignty. Such a reality supports and allows that free-flowing expression of your own consciousness. This is the original gift every soul being received when all of us left the kingdom, our original home. And as much as so many of you have tried to convince or inspire your human family to allow such a freedom to also exist in their own life, it can be really frustrating when what you experience is a whole lot of pushback, a whole lot of resistance. My friends, it's not that they don't want the same freedom that they can feel coming from you. They truly do. The human family is hungry for any form of tangible relief. They will resort to almost anything, and many have, to just help to relieve the pain they are feeling. Some will even consider giving away their freedom to choose for themselves over to these emerging AIs. So your light plays such a vital role as this entire human species enters a new era. But inside the conditions of a very closed system of reality, what you are offering simply doesn't appear to exist. This reality encourages you to look outside of yourself for what you lack. And how is that going for any of you? So you had to walk away from what is known to your human nature as being real. All the conditions, all the expectations you inherited, to something that is known to your soul, indeed, but your soul's presence isn't physical. Until, of course, you allow it to be physical too. And as strange as this might sound, what has become unknown to your human identity is the very part of you that was the one that actually incarnated on this planet. The eternal part of you called your soul. Without that part, your human identity doesn't even exist. Amazing. Many of you had hoped that by allowing your soul to be present, it would help to relieve all the stress and anxiety from feeling so alone. And in part it has done just that. Many of you are feeling for the first time the freedom to experience being you as a sovereign being. But because you are also the ones that volunteered, or was it more about you insisting, to pave a new path for all future generations to follow? It's rare to find others, like yourself, who resonate with some of the choices you made. So our service is to help deepen your connection with your soul and to act as supports with your fellow creators in a variety of ways. One of the ways we encourage that is by incorporating group sessions or gatherings into most of our classes and workshops. This allows all of you to access support for each other and to share both your human part's concerns and the wisdom of your soul. But what have you also noticed? Does your connection with your soul feel more stable today than it did, say, 6 months ago? And it will. It does. If you don't place one foot into a very polarized, closed system of reality, and the other one that supports the collective consciousness on this planet, and what have you all discovered from that choice? What have you all discovered indeed? And Robert, that was not explained correctly. If you put one foot in a very polarized, closed system of reality and the other one in what supports your new reality, consciousness itself, what all of you have discovered by making that choice is indeed it left you feeling exhausted, confused, and even more frustrated. So the choice to live a soul-filled life offers a quality of experience that speaks directly to your heart. But to experience the benefits from such a choice, you have to ask yourself, which reality supports the very highest potential for you? Which reality supports your freedom to create a life that is filled with passion and joy? If you really want to experience all that you are as a divine being of light, you need to place both feet in the reality that supports such a light, that even recognizes such a light, while also existing at the same time inside of these carbon-based bodies. Let's talk about those for a moment, because they're going through their own transition with the other part of this, your light body. So yes, we know all that sounds really good, to experience your natural state inside a free-flowing reality. But what have you also discovered? It's not an easy thing to do. And that's why so few have chosen to do it, which tells you a little bit about all of you. In part because the consciousness of your body, much like mass consciousness, isn't familiar with the light of your soul in a way that it's feeling it right now. It reacts at times to your soul's presence like it reacts to a virus. The light of your soul has no need for an immune system. It doesn't rely on any type of defense mechanism to help support its well-being. It actually doesn't perceive anything as being outside of itself. There is nothing out there threatening its own health. From your soul's perspective, the outside is but a reflection of its own creation. But at its core, the perception of anything being outside of it is but an illusion. An illusion, which of course can make it real challenging to have a conversation with another human being, is it not? And that, in part, is why so many of you resist allowing the part of you that was the one that actually incarnated on this planet to do what? To do what? To freely express itself. Well, there's a lot of ways to do that. Creative expressions fill your museums in a variety of forms. But the freedom to allow your soul to speak and not label it as a channeled message, well, that would be new. That would require from most of you to set your old story free as it relates to speaking, not about your soul. You're already pretty good at doing that, but as it. Because, my friends, this is the part of you that was the part that incarnated on this planet. When you speak as it, it's a clear sign that you own it. You own it. Some of you, much like Robert, found a way around this, simply by playing the part of a spiritual teacher, or whatever you want to call that role. That, in a way, gives you permission to allow beings such as myself and your soul the freedom to speak as we are right now. In a way, it's to be expected inside of the role of playing a mystic or some kind of teacher or guide. But what you will discover, if you're willing to play with this, is a tremendous amount of energy will begin to shift in your life. If you're not identifying with all your human worries, concerns, and fears as being you, and all the emotions that support those concerns, the voice of your soul, of course, has its own energy. It's your energy that is just waiting to serve who? You. Always you first. Let's take a deep breath there. It serves your freedom to be yourself as an eternal being of light. You're just choosing to experience that inside of this human experience. Take another deep breath. Because we know so many of you are at that place as we speak. It's frustrating when your identity, or when you're identifying more and more and more with just the human part, but to that part, it feels safe to talk about your soul. But you've noticed what happens to that part when you're talking as the soul. Which brings us full circle to this now moment, today, here, as it relates to being human. We know that all of you had hoped that humanity would respond to your light with an open heart, in a way that would allow them to just fast forward to where many of you find yourself right now. But is that what really happened to any of you? Did any of you did any of you experience your own transition in a blink of an eye? Because if you did, more than likely, you're no longer in a physical body. Did you not find yourself feeling very conflicted at times? Perhaps you still do. Are you now a part of a few thousand on this planet who have also allowed their soul to be present to varying degrees? Most of you experienced your awakening years, well, some time ago and about at the same time. But that is nothing compared to the millions of human beings that are just beginning to truly question their own reality without the background so many of you relied on. Your human self had to do something it wasn't trained to do for you to be where you are right now. It had to allow your soul to share its presence with your human part. And that, my friends, didn't happen overnight. In fact, many of you find yourself going back and forth as we speak about that very issue, which is why at the core of our service to you, it's really all about the art of being in receivership. It's not about trying to create an improved version of yourself. Those are about mind games. Your human part actually would love to feel the love emanating from your soul. But it also perceives that such a love comes from other people, comes from family, comes from friends outside of itself because it doesn't know how to love itself. It truly doesn't. It carries great shame as it relates to this. It believes it must be flawed in some way. Imagine the impact on your human part if you allowed your soul to counsel with its words your human part. Let's take a breath there too. We're happy to serve the role of providing for you a type of wisdom, oversight. But all of you as soul beings are neither less or more than me. And believe it or not, they know you better than I do. I am not you. I am Michael. You are transitioning into a very direct experience with you in such a way that you won't need the same reinforcement you're relying on from other beings like myself. This wasn't really about the human part. It was more about the condition of the human nature. And it's more about the system of reality your conditioned human nature has been identifying with. A reality that has dominion over your mind. So of course, your human part has one or two issues about letting go of that steering wheel in your life. Over the years, it has tried to negotiate a deal with your soul, one that would allow it to maintain its own reality while at the same time being served by your soul's presence. It's why so many of you find yourselves feeling stuck at times. So after all these years, your human part has grown to accept that your soul isn't willing to negotiate its own freedom to accommodate your human's lack of it. But it is willing to share its own freedom with your human part on one condition. Dear human, just let go of the steering wheel. And those of you that accepted such an arrangement, you now find your human part sitting in the passenger seat, and sometimes in the back seat, playing the role of a backseat driver. But in this new relationship, your human self receives from the soul an abundance of free-flowing energy that has no conditions attached to it. Visually, that might appear to your human self like it is literally standing under a waterfall. And there are many layers to this. It radically changes the human experience where lack has played such a significant role in your life. Standing under the waterfall of your own energy allows you to feel that indeed all is well. At least it is inside your own creation. We will go much deeper into this in our upcoming I Mystic workshop next month. I actually have invited my dear friend Yeshua to join us, to share his own experience of being in receivership through Robert. Which brings us to what? Well, what's the point of being human if you're not enjoying all the benefits? And for the vast majority of human beings, it's been a while since they experienced that all is well. And we're not only referring to this lifetime. A perception of a lack of energy is why Earth was originally created. So you could experience in slow motion how your energy is naturally flowing or not flowing. And after all these years and 3 different versions of being a human being, only a few thousand soul beings have allowed the flow of their own energy to now support their life. And because so few have, you have elevated the image of these beings, what you call ascended masters, as being more than you. Inside our collective cosmic story, you believe that the original self became disconnected from you when it set itself free from a collective identity where all was one. That perception gave birth to looking outside of yourself for the energy to now support your life. By doing what? By taking energy from other beings because you weren't willing to receive it from within yourself, because you didn't recognize that your divine nature was indeed inside of you. The original self came with us when it set itself free, but not as a collective whole, rather as individuated parts of itself, its wholeness, in the form of your oversoul and eventually the soul. It's an incredible story, one that we keep repeating to remind you it's time to also set that story free. For the first 5 years of working together with Robert, during those Reiki classes he used to teach, we talked almost exclusively about unplugging yourself from each other by cutting those horizontal cords of energy, which represents a very underhanded way of communicating. But that was just the beginning. Now it's more about unplugging yourself from a very closed system of reality, which is not the responsibility of your human part. The human self unplugs itself by allowing your soul, by receiving the presence of your soul, to coexist with it. As the plugged-in version of a human being continues to look for ways to feed itself in the form of all those power games, which requires that you must choose what side of the game do you want to play. The dictator with all the power and control, or the victim who has nothing? For those that we have the honor of serving, you already made a choice. No more games. No more extracting. No more consuming. No more taking energy from outside of yourself. You chose to make this real. If all is well inside your own energy, you decided this is the time to stand under the waterfall of your own soul's radiance. It's time to receive you and then watch how your creations blossom. It's beautiful for us to observe so many of you choosing to reclaim your own energy, and perhaps for the first time also giving it a voice. Thank you for allowing us to share with you today. If you find yourself getting pulled into the drama that supports most of humanity, my friends, you have the freedom to change the channel anytime you want. Take a deep breath and just imagine standing under the waterfall of your own energy, and let yourself feel you as a divine being of light. Yeshua and myself are very much looking forward to the upcoming iMystic gathering. It's time for that, where we can work with you, all of you, in a more personal and in a very direct way. Until then, take care of yourselves. Blessings.